Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." But what happens when your imagination turns into reality? When the woman you trusted betrays you, leaving you questioning everything. The Stoics, through their mastery of human nature, understood that some people are more prone to deception than others. Cheating is not random. It follows patterns driven by psychology, habits, and deep-rooted behaviors. Today, we uncover the types of women most likely to cheat so you can recognize the signs before it's too late. Watch until the end, and if this video resonates with you, like, subscribe, and share your story in the comments. Chapter 1: Low Self-Esteem and Dependency. A woman who does not value herself will always search for validation elsewhere. She is trapped in a cycle of insecurity where the approval of others becomes her oxygen. She doesn't just want attention, she needs it. And when one person's validation isn't enough, she will seek another. It's not about desire, nor about love, it's about survival. Her self-worth is so fragile, so dependent on external affirmation, that she cannot function without a steady supply of reassurance. Stoics teach us that true self-worth comes from within, that a person should be their own source of stability. But a woman with low self-esteem cannot see herself clearly. She defines her worth by the way others treat her, by the compliments she receives, by the attention she can command. If she feels ignored, even for a moment, she will panic. If you are busy, if you withdraw even slightly, she will seek reassurance elsewhere, not because she consciously wants to betray you, but because her sense of self crumbles without constant validation. This kind of woman does not cheat because she is unhappy in the relationship. She cheats because she is unhappy with herself. The problem isn't you, it's the emptiness inside her, an emptiness she doesn't know how to fill on her own. And because she cannot sit with herself, because she cannot bear to be alone with her insecurities, she is always searching for the next hit of attention to numb the self-doubt that never truly leaves her. Some women with low self-esteem become serial monogamists, jumping from one relationship to another without a single moment of solitude. They fear being alone more than anything. They are not in love with their partners, they are in love with the idea of being loved. And when the high of a new relationship fades, when the butterflies settle and the real work of emotional intimacy begins, they start to feel that old familiar emptiness again. Instead of facing it, they look for a new spark, a new admirer, a new reason to feel special. Others become chronic flirts, incapable of drawing boundaries with other men because they thrive on the attention. It doesn't matter how much you love her, how much you reassure her, how much you make her feel beautiful, she will always crave more. She may not even recognize it as betrayal at first. To her, it's just harmless fun. It's just conversation. It's just attention. But attention is a drug, and the more she indulges, the more she needs. Women who rely solely on their partners for emotional support are at an even higher risk of seeking validation elsewhere. A woman who lacks friends, hobbies, personal ambitions, or a fulfilling life outside of a relationship is a dangerous investment. She has made you her entire world, not out of love, but out of necessity. And when you cannot be everything she needs, when you inevitably fall short of the impossible task of making her feel whole, she will seek comfort in someone else. At first, it may be emotional cheating, deep conversations with another man about her feelings, about how you don't understand her, about how she just needs someone to talk to. Then, it escalates. Because once she feels seen, once she feels desired again, she cannot resist the pull. It's not premeditated. It's not calculated. It's reactive. A desperate attempt to silence the self-doubt that never stops whispering in her mind. She is not necessarily cruel. She is not necessarily malicious. But she is dangerous. Because a woman who cannot stand alone will always seek someone to hold on to, even if that means betraying the one she's already holding. If she feels lonely, if she senses distance, If she perceives a lack of attention, even if temporary, she will fill the void however she can. And when the guilt sets in, she will justify it. I didn't feel loved. You weren't there for me. I didn't mean for it to happen. But love is not about needing someone to complete you. Love is about two whole individuals choosing to share a life together. The Stoics believed that true strength comes from within, that happiness is an internal state, not something granted by another person. A woman who has not learned to be at peace with herself, who has not learned to validate herself, will always be a risk. A man who values his dignity must recognize the warning signs. Does she constantly need attention from others? Does she have a life outside of the relationship, or are you her only source of emotional stability? Does she struggle with self-worth, needing constant reassurance that she is beautiful, desirable, or loved? If the answer to these questions is yes, tread carefully. A woman who does not feel whole will always seek external validation. And when your love is not enough to fill the void inside her, she will not hesitate to look elsewhere. Chapter 2. Lack of impulse control. Some women act first and think later. They don't weigh the consequences, they don't consider the long-term damage, they simply react. Their emotions, desires, and whims drive them, and when the opportunity to cheat presents itself, they don't stop to think about the destruction it may cause. It's not that they set out to betray, it's that they never pause long enough to stop themselves. The Stoics emphasized discipline, self-mastery, and control over desires, for they understood that without these qualities, a person is at the mercy of their own impulses. But not everyone possesses this level of self-restraint. Some people are ruled by impulse, unable to resist temptation, addicted to the thrill of the moment. They do not act based on reason or long-term vision, they act based on what feels good right now. A woman with poor impulse control thrives on chaos. She chases excitement, unpredictability, and spontaneity, often at the expense of stability. She makes reckless decisions, not because she intends to harm anyone, but because she lacks the discipline to stop herself. If she's quick to anger, quick to spend recklessly, quick to make decisions without thinking, she may also be quick to betray. Look at the patterns in her life. Does she struggle with self-restraint in other areas? Does she make impulsive purchases, spending money she doesn't have on things she doesn't need? Does she drink excessively, party uncontrollably, or engage in other reckless behaviors? Does she lose her temper quickly, reacting emotionally before considering the situation rationally? These are not isolated traits, they are part of a larger personality pattern that extends into her relationships. A woman with no impulse control is the kind who wakes up in the morning with regrets, constantly apologizing for things she didn't mean to do. She will tell you, it just happened. She will claim she wasn't thinking. She will insist she didn't intend to hurt you. But intent does not erase consequences, and a person who lacks the ability to control themselves will inevitably hurt those around them. Temptation is not something to be resisted for her, it is something to be indulged. Whether it's alcohol-fueled nights, reckless flotation, or simply the thrill of the unknown, she lives for the rush of impulsivity. She doesn't think about the aftermath because she never slows down long enough to consider it. To her, life is a series of moments, and if something feels good in the present, she does it without thought for what comes next. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes from mastering one's desires. A person who cannot control themselves is a slave to their impulses. And when a woman lives without restraint, she does not belong to a man, she belongs to her fleeting emotions. She cannot be loyal because loyalty requires self-control, the ability to resist temptation, the discipline to honor commitments even when emotions pull in another direction. This kind of woman will find herself in situations where cheating is not just possible, but likely. A late night out with friends. A moment of flotation that escalates. A reckless decision made in the heat of passion. And because she lacks the ability to stop herself, she won't. Then, she will come back to you with excuses. I didn't mean to. I was drunk. I don't know what I was thinking. But none of these explanations erase the fact that she gave in, because giving in is what she always does. Her impulsivity extends beyond relationships. She might jump from job to job, abandoning stability because she gets bored. She might get herself into unnecessary conflicts, saying things in the heat of the moment that she later regrets. She might make major life decisions, moving cities, quitting jobs, making large purchases, without considering the long-term impact. And if she can't control herself in these areas, what makes you think she will control herself in her relationship with you? A woman who is truly loyal is a woman who has control over herself. She does not let fleeting emotions dictate her actions. She understands that feelings are temporary, but consequences are permanent. She values stability over momentary excitement. She does not put herself in situations where temptation can overtake reason. But a woman who lacks impulse control is a woman who lives for the next thrill. She does not think about the future, she only thinks about now. She does not weigh right and wrong, she only considers what feels good in the moment. And if betraying you brings her even a second of excitement, she will do it, without hesitation, without remorse, without a second thought. Watch for the warning signs. Does she make reckless financial decisions? Does she constantly act without thinking? Does she get carried away in the moment, only to regret it later? These behaviors may seem harmless at first, even fun or exciting, but they are signs of deeper issues. A woman who cannot control herself will not control her loyalty. And a man who values his peace, his dignity, and his emotional well-being will not invest in someone who cannot be trusted with his heart. The Stoics taught that wisdom lies in discernment. A wise man does not allow himself to be drawn into the chaos of an undisciplined person. He does not try to fix someone who refuses to fix themselves. He does not make excuses for someone who repeatedly makes destructive choices. Instead, he sees the truth for what it is. A woman who lacks self-control will always be a risk, not because she intends to betray, but because she cannot stop herself when the moment presents itself. And a man who values his worth will not wait to see if she someday learns discipline. He will walk away before she destroys both herself and him in the process. Chapter 3: Narcissistic Tendencies. A woman who believes the world revolves around her will never see you as an equal partner, only as a tool to serve her ego. She does not enter relationships to build something meaningful. She enters them to be worshipped, adored, and catered to. The moment you stop feeding her endless validation, she will look elsewhere for someone who will. To her, relationships are not about mutual growth or genuine affection. They are about status, power, and admiration. She does not see love as a two-way street. Instead, she views it as a stage where she is the star, and you are the audience, there to applaud her, to admire her, to make her feel important. And if you ever fail to do so, if you stop showering her with praise, if you have your own needs, if you ask for something in return, she will resent you for it. She believes she deserves more. More attention. More affection. More admiration. And if she feels like she is not getting what she wants, she will justify betrayal with twisted logic. If he treated me better, I wouldn't have done this. She will blame you for her own lack of loyalty. She will convince herself that she was forced into cheating because you were not good enough, because you did not meet her impossible standards, because you failed to serve her needs. The Stoics warned against entitlement and unchecked ego, for a person who believes they are above others is also above morality. A narcissistic woman does not feel bound by the same rules as everyone else. She sees herself as exceptional, special, different. In her mind, her desires always come first, and if that means betraying you, lying to you, or manipulating you, so be it. Her lack of empathy makes deception effortless. She can look you in the eye and lie without a hint of guilt. She can manipulate reality to suit her narrative. If you catch her in a lie, she will twist the story until you are the one apologizing. If you express hurt, she will make you feel dramatic for even bringing it up. If you try to hold her accountable, she will shift the blame onto you until you are the one questioning yourself. A narcissistic woman does not cheat because she is unhappy. She cheats because she feels entitled to more. She genuinely believes that no single man is ever enough for her. She needs constant validation, constant admiration, constant attention. If she does not receive it from you, she will seek it elsewhere without remorse. And even if she does receive it from you, she will still crave more because her hunger for external approval is never satisfied. This entitlement extends beyond relationships. You will see it in the way she interacts with the world. She expects special treatment. She believes rules do not apply to her. She demands admiration, whether from friends, family, or strangers. She may use her looks, charm, or intelligence to manipulate those around her, bending people to her will. And if someone fails to treat her as the queen she believes she is, she will lash out, playing the victim or punishing them with cold indifference. A woman like this does not truly love, she possesses. When she enters a relationship, it is not because she wants a deep emotional connection, but because she enjoys having control. She enjoys the feeling of being wanted, of being pursued, of having someone revolve around her. But the moment she senses that your devotion is not enough, she will begin looking for the next source of validation. This is why you should never ignore the early signs of narcissism in a woman. Does she constantly need attention? Does she lack empathy for others? Does she always blame others for her mistakes? Does she see herself as superior to those around her? These traits are not harmless, they are warnings. And if you ignore them, you will find yourself trapped in a relationship where you are nothing more than a pawn in her endless game of self-worship. The Stoics taught that true strength lies in self-control, in mastering one's desires, in rejecting illusions. A man who values his peace will never entangle himself with a woman whose love is conditional on how much he flatters her ego. A Stoic man does not beg for attention. He does not compete for the approval of someone who sees him as replaceable. He does not waste his time proving his worth to a woman who will never be satisfied. Instead, he walks away. He understands that true love is built on respect, not control. On mutual appreciation, not endless validation. On shared values, not manipulation. A narcissistic woman may be alluring, her confidence, her charm, her magnetic personality may draw you in, but underneath it all, she is incapable of real intimacy. She does not want a partner. She wants a follower. And if you refuse to play that role, she will discard you without hesitation. Ask yourself, is she with you because she values you, or because she values what you provide? Does she see you as an equal, or as someone to serve her needs? Would she stand by you in difficult times, or would she leave the moment you no longer benefit her? A narcissistic woman will always believe she deserves more than you alone can give. No matter what you do, it will never be enough. And a man who respects himself does not waste his life trying to fill a void that can never be filled. Chapter 4: The Emotionally Unavailable. Some women do not crave love, they crave the idea of love. They are drawn to the excitement, the passion, the pursuit. The early stages of romance, where everything is new and electric, give them a high. But when the relationship starts to deepen, when real emotional intimacy is required, they pull away. Love, to them, is only thrilling when it is just out of reach. The moment it becomes real, the moment it requires effort, vulnerability, and commitment, they begin to sabotage it. She fears commitment not because she does not want love, but because she does not know how to handle it. Emotional depth terrifies her because it requires something she is unwilling to give: true openness. To be in a genuine, loving relationship means facing her own fears, insecurities, and wounds. And instead of doing that, she chooses to keep her heart locked away, avoiding any situation where she might have to fully expose herself. That is why she always keeps one foot out the door. It is not a conscious decision, it is a pattern. She is always prepared to run the moment things become too real. She may give excuses about not being ready or needing space, but the truth is, she cannot handle the emotional intensity of a real relationship. It is safer for her to stay detached, to never fully invest, to always have an escape plan. This emotional detachment manifests in many ways. She may suddenly withdraw when things start getting serious. She might disappear emotionally during important moments, birthdays, anniversaries, deep conversations where true intimacy is required. She might shut down when you express your feelings, deflect serious discussions, or dismiss your attempts to build a deeper connection. But perhaps the most destructive pattern of an emotionally unavailable woman is the way she plays with distance. She will push you away, making you feel unwanted and insignificant. But the moment she senses that you are truly moving on, that you might actually leave for good, she will pull you back in. Suddenly, she is affectionate again. Suddenly, she misses you. Suddenly, she wants to make things work. But it is never because she wants real love, it is because she fears losing the attention, the validation, the comfort of knowing you are still there. This cycle repeats endlessly. Push, pull. Hot, cold. Close, distant. Until one day, she finds someone else to chase. And then, she is gone. A woman who is emotionally unavailable does not cheat because she is unhappy. She cheats because she is afraid of what happiness demands: depth, effort, and permanence. To truly love someone requires work. It requires showing up even when it is inconvenient. It requires choosing the same person every day, even when the excitement fades. It requires self-awareness, maturity, and the ability to face discomfort without running away. And she is incapable of doing that. For her, cheating is not about dissatisfaction, it is about escape. Escape from intimacy. Escape from commitment. Escape from the responsibility of maintaining something real. A new person, a new fling, a new pursuit offers her the illusion of excitement without the burden of emotional depth. She can indulge in the fantasy of love without having to deal with its realities. And so, when things get too real with you, she finds someone else to distract her from the fear of true emotional connection. Stoicism teaches that true strength comes from mastering oneself. A wise man does not chase after a woman who is incapable of love. He recognizes that emotional unavailability is not something he can fix. He understands that no amount of patience, affection, or effort will change someone who is fundamentally unwilling to be vulnerable. If you find yourself in a relationship with a woman like this, do not make excuses for her. Do not believe that if you just love her enough, she will finally open up. That is an illusion. A woman who fears emotional depth will always run when things get real. And the more you chase, the more she will pull away. A Stoic man values his peace. He does not beg for the love of someone who is incapable of giving it. He does not waste his time on a person who plays games with intimacy. He does not allow himself to be trapped in an endless cycle of emotional highs and lows. Instead, he walks away. He understands that a love built on avoidance, fear, and emotional distance is not love at all, it is a distraction. And he chooses something greater. So ask yourself, is she truly invested in you? Or is she only invested in the idea of you? Is she present in the relationship, or does she always seem to have one foot out the door? Does she embrace emotional depth, or does she run from it? If she is emotionally unavailable, you already know how the story ends. Do not waste your time trying to rewrite it. Chapter 5. Easily bored and needs constant excitement. Some people thrive on chaos. They are restless, impatient, and always searching for the next high. They do not just crave excitement, they need it to feel alive. And if they are not getting it from their career, their passions, or their personal development, they will seek it elsewhere. A woman who cannot tolerate routine will eventually become dissatisfied with stability. In the beginning, the relationship might feel fresh, exciting, and full of passion. But as time goes on and things settle into a natural rhythm, she will start to feel the itch, the craving for something new. And that craving, if left unchecked, will drive her to seek excitement in destructive ways. If she has no real ambitions, no personal goals, no fulfilling hobbies, she will fill the void with external stimulation. And for many women like this, male attention is the easiest form of stimulation available. It provides an immediate thrill, an instant validation, a rush of dopamine that makes her feel desirable, wanted, and important. But that thrill is temporary. And when it fades, she will seek it again, from another source, from another man, from another chase. The issue is not unhappiness in the relationship. It is addiction to novelty. She doesn't want stability, she wants the rush of instability. The unpredictability of flirting with someone new. The adrenaline of secrecy. The excitement of being desired by multiple men. This is not about you, it is about her constant need for stimulation. This type of woman will often justify her actions by blaming boredom. I just needed excitement. Things were getting too routine. I didn't mean to hurt you, I just needed something new. But what she will never admit is that her dissatisfaction has nothing to do with the relationship itself. It is a pattern she carries with her. If she is incapable of finding fulfillment within herself, no man will ever be enough for her. Stoicism teaches that true happiness comes from within, not from external pleasures, not from fleeting highs, and certainly not from the validation of others. A woman who has not learned this lesson will forever be chasing external excitement, and she will never be satisfied. No matter how much effort you put in, no matter how well you treat her, she will always feel like something is missing. And rather than looking inward, she will search for the answer outside of herself, often in the arms of another man. This type of woman is easy to identify if you pay attention. She is constantly seeking something new, new places, new experiences, new people. She has trouble committing to anything long-term, whether it's a job, a project, or a relationship. She gets bored easily and needs constant change to feel satisfied. And she often romanticizes instability, mistaking chaos for passion and mistaking excitement for love. If you notice these patterns early, take them seriously. A woman who is addicted to novelty will never stop chasing it. And if you try to be her source of endless excitement, you will exhaust yourself in the process. Stability is not something she wants, it is something she fears. And if you value peace, loyalty, and a relationship built on trust, she is not the woman for you. A wise man does not ignore the signs of self-destruction in another person. The Stoics believed in observing human nature, recognizing patterns, and acting with wisdom rather than impulse. If a woman shows you that she is incapable of contentment, believe her. Do not make excuses for her behavior. Do not think that you can change her. Some people are addicted to the chase, and they will chase excitement at any cost, including the destruction of your relationship. Choose wisely. Because a woman who cannot sit still will never stand by your side for long. Chapter 6. History of Cheating. The past is the greatest predictor of the future. This is not just an observation, it is a reality backed by human psychology. A woman who has cheated before is statistically far more likely to cheat again. And this is not a coincidence. It is a reflection of a deeper truth. Once a person crosses the line of betrayal, it becomes easier to do it again. The initial guilt that might have stopped her the first time fades. The justifications grow stronger. The lies become easier. And eventually, what was once a difficult moral decision becomes second nature. The Stoics believed that wisdom came from studying patterns, both in ourselves and in others. They knew that people are creatures of habit. A person who lacks discipline in one area of life will likely lack it in others. A person who lies once will likely lie again. A person who betrays without consequence will only be emboldened to do so again. To ignore the past is to invite the same pain into your future. Why is cheating such a strong predictor of future behavior? Because it is not just about the act itself, it is about the mindset behind it. A woman who has cheated before has already learned how to rationalize betrayal. She has already built the mental framework needed to deceive. She knows how to lie convincingly, how to cover her tracks, how to manipulate the truth to suit her narrative. She has mastered the art of deception, and more importantly, she has experienced what it feels like to get away with it. That feeling of having power over the truth, of bending reality to her will, is intoxicating. And if she got away with it once, why wouldn't she do it again? Many men make the mistake of thinking, she cheated on him, but she wouldn't cheat on me. This is arrogance. This is self-deception. If she has already crossed that line before, she has proven that she is capable of it. And unless there has been a radical transformation in her values, her morality, and her discipline, which is rare, she will cross it again. You are not the exception. You are simply the next chapter in her pattern. There are always excuses. I was young. It didn't mean anything. I was in a bad relationship. But these are distractions from the truth. A person with strong character does not cheat, no matter how bad the relationship is. A person with integrity does not cross that line just because they are unhappy. There are other options: honest conversations, breaking up, walking away. Cheating is a choice, and a woman who has made that choice once has already proven that she is willing to betray someone who trusted her. The Stoics would say that the greatest fool is the man who refuses to learn from history, both the history of the world and the history of those around him. If a woman has a history of cheating, do not convince yourself that you will be different. Do not fall for the illusion that she has changed just because she wants something from you. Look at the patterns. Look at the evidence. Do not let hope blind you to reality. There are women who value loyalty. Women who would never even entertain the idea of betrayal. These women exist, and they are worth your time. But a woman who has already shown you that she is capable of infidelity is showing you something about her character. And character does not change overnight. Ask yourself, do you want to spend your life looking over your shoulder, wondering if history will repeat itself? Or do you want to choose someone who has proven, through their actions, that loyalty is a core part of who they are? The past is a preview of the future. Ignore it at your own risk. Chapter 7. Lack of personal accountability. A woman who never takes responsibility for her actions is a woman who will always find a way to justify betrayal. To her, nothing is ever her fault. There is always an external reason, a convenient excuse, or someone else to blame. If she lies, it's because you forced her to. If she cheats, it's because you weren't doing enough. If she disrespects you, it's because you somehow deserved it. Every failure, every mistake, every misstep, she finds a way to twist the story so that she is never at fault. The Stoics believed in absolute responsibility. They knew that a person who refuses to own their actions is a person who will never grow, never change, and never learn. A woman who lacks accountability operates from a place of entitlement, convinced that the world must bend to her will. If reality does not serve her, she rewrites it. And if you call her out, she will flip the script, turning herself into the victim and you into the villain. Her dishonesty is not just toward others, it is ingrained in her very identity. You will see this pattern in the way she deals with conflicts. She will never offer a sincere apology, only manipulative justifications. Instead of saying, "I'm sorry for hurting you," she will say, "I wouldn't have done this if you hadn't made me feel this way." Instead of admitting she made a mistake, she will turn the tables, making you feel guilty for even questioning her. This is how she escapes consequences. This is how she avoids growth. And this is how she ensures she can repeat the same behaviors over and over again without ever feeling remorse. A woman who refuses to take responsibility in small matters will inevitably do the same in larger ones. She will justify selfishness, deceit, and ultimately, infidelity. The moment she strays, she will find a way to rationalize it. I was feeling neglected. I was unhappy. You weren't paying enough attention. These excuses are not admissions of guilt, they are attempts to shift blame onto you, making you feel responsible for her betrayal. The irony is, no matter how much you try to prevent it, she will always find a reason. Because for her, the problem is never internal, it is always external. This lack of accountability extends beyond relationships. You will see it in how she handles her job, her friendships, her finances, and even her personal ambitions. When things go wrong, she is never the one at fault. If she loses a job, it's because her boss was unfair. If a friendship ends, it's because the other person was toxic. If she fails at something, it's because someone didn't support her enough. Nothing is ever the result of her own choices. This is why she will never change. And this is why she will cheat again. The Stoics warned against people who refuse to own their mistakes, for they are doomed to repeat them. They understood that true strength comes from self-awareness, from the ability to reflect and improve. But a woman who lacks accountability is incapable of such reflection. She does not see herself as someone who needs to change, she sees the world as something that must change for her. And that is the most dangerous mindset of all. A woman who cannot be honest with herself will never be honest with you. If she cannot admit when she is wrong, she will never learn from her failures. If she cannot face her flaws, she will always find ways to project them onto you. And when she betrays you, she will never see it as a betrayal, only as something she was forced to do because of circumstances beyond her control. Do not waste your time trying to fix someone who refuses to acknowledge they are broken. Do not try to reason with someone who distorts reality to avoid accountability. A woman like this does not just hurt the men in her life, she destroys herself in the process. And the only way to protect yourself from the chaos she brings is to walk away before you become the next excuse in her long list of justifications. Seneca once said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." If you recognize these signs early, you won't need luck, you'll have knowledge. And knowledge is power. Don't ignore the patterns. Don't dismiss the red flags. If you've experienced this firsthand, share your story in the comments. Like this video, subscribe, and stay strong. The more you understand, the less you will suffer.